Hey, all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Doug Padgett here with you today. It is June 30th, and finally, the United States Supreme Court has ruled on a very important case that has to do with a lot of people's lives. It's the case to give the Biden administration its due authority to unravel the despicable, harmful, and hurtful policy put in place by the Trump administration, often referred to as the Remain in Mexico policy. This policy said that anyone seeking asylum in the United States needed to wait in another country before they had their claim adjudicated. That is a shocking statement from the Trump administration. It was harmful to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. It caused people their lives. It hurt children. It was despicable and disgusting. And now we can be done with it. Look, the Supreme Court has had some rulings in the last week that I have disagreed with passionately. We've been talking about it here on this stream and podcast. There's lots of videos. If you're in the YouTube channel, you can watch all of those. If you're not yet on a YouTube channel, be sure you get over there, Vote Common Good on YouTube, and look at those because we talk about all these cases. But this one, the fact that the migrant story can change in the United States, this is enormous. Now, look, I'm wearing a shirt right now that says "We the People Ride." I'm wearing this shirt because I'm going to show you a video in a little bit of when we were meeting with these very migrants, people seeking asylum in the United States, and we were with them in camps in Mexico where they had to stay homeless, nowhere to live, no one to care for them, living on the street, living in plazas. It was terribly painful for thousands and thousands of people who simply wanted to ask the United States if they could find asylum in the United States. Asylum seeking, by the way, I'm really passionate about this. I'm going to get real screamy here. Asylum seeking is different than someone just wanting to come to the country as an immigrant. Now, we need to change our immigration policies. There's no doubt about it. I believe we need to open our immigration policies to make it easier, to make it more expedited, to make it more honest and more fair and understandable for people to come to the United States as migrants, to work in the United States, to move to the United States, to relocate their family to the United States. That's something we should be changing. Our policies are not helpful right now. They're not good. They're not benefiting migrants. They're not benefiting the United States. Did a whole video on how our current labor shortage is tied to our immigration policy, especially under the Trump administration. You can watch those videos down below as well. But today what we're talking about are asylum seekers. Now, asylum seekers are a particular category. Asylum seekers are people who are looking for a chance to come to the United States because they're in a situation where their lives are in jeopardy, where they cannot live safely where they are. So they can go to another country and ask for asylum. People from Guatemala, from Honduras, from El Salvador, from Nicaragua, from Haiti, Venezuela, Cuba, all kinds of places around the world, East African countries. They come to the United States asking for asylum to be able to move into the United States. The Trump administration, because they wanted to shut off all asylum seekers coming into the United States, said the way that you have to come to the United States to seek asylum is to ask for asylum and then wait outside of the country before your case is adjudicated. That can take weeks, months, years for people. This is something that the Trump administration did by their own definition, by their own statement. They did it as a deterrence. They knew, and they said out loud, if people have to stay in Mexico living in homeless camps before their case is adjudicated, they're not going to want to come to the United States. What they thought was a problem was to allow people into the United States while their case was being checked. Here's why that's important that you do so. People don't seek asylum unless their life is in jeopardy. Now, look, the amount of screening that goes on before an asylum case is adjudicated is significant. It takes a long time. It takes many judges. And what the Trump administration also did in 2017, 2018, 2019, and early 2020 was they defunded the parts of our federal system that adjudicates asylum seekers to stall people out even longer. They tried to create every possible resistance to people coming to the United States. Again, these are not people crossing in the desert, crossing across the Rio Grande River. That's not what they're doing. They're not sneaking in. They're not the tragic story that we heard yesterday of 51 people dying in a truck. Many of those people are having to do those things because we don't have an immigration policy. These are asylum seekers. Well, the Supreme Court today agreed with the Biden administration. A number of news headlines are saying things like, the Supreme Court gives the Biden administration a win. This ruling that we can now in this country put in the trash heap of history, the horrible migrant policies and asylum seeking policies of the Trump administration, that's not a win for the Biden administration. The Biden administration doesn't get a win. People get a win. The United States of America has a win. Migrants have a win. This is good for all of those people. It's really significant. Look, the Supreme Court, I've been at just mind on fire about the decisions they're making and the reasons and the ways they're making the decision. On this one, they got it right. It was a 5-4 decision. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the opinion on this. And in Supreme Court lingo, that matters. The person who wrote it is the person who maybe was making the chief argument for it. So it's good to see that the Chief Justice was making the primary argument for this getting rid of the Remain in Mexico policy brought to us by the devastating Trump administration. Here's the downside to all of this. It took so long. Day one, when Joe Biden came into office, day one, he put an end to this policy. And it has taken from January 21 of 2021 until today for that to be enacted. You know why? Because states like Texas sued the administration saying you don't have the right to change the policy of the previous administration. Of course you do. We can't have an administration putting into place policies that future administrations can't remove. If you want it to be a law, then pass it in Congress. If it's a constitutional argument, then bring it before the Supreme Court. But when it's an executive order, when it's an executive instruction, well, then you absolutely the next administration can. And the Biden administration on 3 different occasions wrote executive orders unraveling this hurtful, painful, terrible Remain in Mexico policy. And states sued the United States government to say you can't change it. And the Supreme Court chose to take those cases, even though other courts all agreed with the Biden administration. These other states like Texas kept appealing and appealing and appealing. And the United States Supreme Court should have, if I can should on the Supreme Court for a minute, what they should have done was rejected the case, stayed with the lower court ruling, and let the relief come to these hundreds of thousands of migrants whose lives have been devastated by this policy of Remain in Mexico into the country much earlier so they can find the safety that they so rightly deserve. And that the United States wants to provide to people. Let's not forget that fact. The United States of America wants to provide for people asylum. We brag about that we're that kind of place, that want to be the good people in the global ecosystem, that we're a country that wants to care for those who can't be cared for at home. Of course we do. Everyone watching this, every one of your neighbors, everyone you know wants to be those people. Of course you want to care for hurting people. Republicans and Trumpists have been lying about migrants and asylum seekers to the point that people think they should be afraid of them. I spent a long time riding my bicycle from San Diego, California, all the way to McAllen, Texas, all the way along the U.S.-Mexico border, and then finished the ride across the rest of the country to St. Augustine, Florida. So 3,156 miles total. We went in and out of Mexico and met with people, and a variety of situations. We're talking to people who are required to remain in Mexico. We saw it in Arizona. We saw it in New Mexico. We saw it in Texas. We saw it in all the places. We saw it in California and Tijuana, where all these places where people are forced to live in terrible situations. I'm going to show you a video interview with some of these people so you know who we're talking about when we're talking about asylum seekers. You know, what gets stuck in a lot of our heads is this horrible thing that Donald Trump said when he was a candidate, that Mexico's not sending us good people. They're sending us, harmful people, hurtful people. He used all these derogatory terms about them. That gets stuck in people's head, and they start to think, I don't know, maybe that's who these people are. I don't know. What do I know about what goes on at the border? A lot of us feel this way, right? What do I know about the border? Well, we went there so we'd find out what's going on at the border. If you're on our YouTube channel now, you'll find a playlist in our YouTube channel of our We the People ride. You'll be able to watch a whole bunch of video that's part of the documentary that we're making. You can meet these people. You can see what they did. You can see the work that we did. Really want you to get close to and feel connected to these stories of these people, because these are human stories. These are the stories of people that we will cheer on in decades to come. We will tell the stories of mothers who left the dangers of Guatemala and El Salvador and Nicaragua to come to the United States, and their children are going to grow up here. And we're going to talk about them like they're the heroes of our country, because that's who they are. And the Trump administration said, we don't want you, stay out. In fact, even if you get in the country, you need to stay in a homeless encampment in Mexico while we figure out if we're going to allow you in this country. And then the Trump administration said, we're going to defund the very process that decides if you can come in the country or not. If you've ever thought maybe elections don't matter, if you've been frustrated this week that it feels like we made the shift away from Trump and he's just still in your head, and we still have to watch the January 6th nonsense, and we still see the effects of his criminality, and you feel very real how the policies of that administration continue to just wreak devastation across the United States and the globe, I'm with you. But also, change came. Change happened. The Biden administration changed this policy. And it took a long time, way too long, for the Supreme Court to recognize the authority of the Biden administration to unravel this. And today it happened. It's such good news. Okay, I'm going to show you this video. You're going to meet 3 of the people that we met in just outside of McAllen, Texas, in Reynosa, Mexico. So it's the other side of the border town. And these are women who came to the United States border asking for asylum with their children. And they were told, you have to stay in Mexico. Well, we figure it out. So we met these people through Alma Ruth, who works with a fantastic organization called Practice Mercy. You'll see her in all of our videos and all the work that we do. She's a great partner to this effort. She's someone you need to know. If this moves your heart, if this moves your spirit, if you're like, I want to go and meet these people, you can go. We can help you get to Alma Ruth in McAllen. You can get over with Dora Rodriguez outside of Tucson, Arizona. You can go and meet people in Sasabe, Mexico, and Sasabe, Arizona. So if you're thinking like, I want to get close to these people, we'd love to make that happen. We're going to be going back as an organization because these things matter. So here, I want you to meet these people. Here's a video. It's going to be worth the next 4 minutes of your life, I promise you. So here you go.
Maria, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Gracias por hacer esto.
Maria, will you tell us your name and where you're from?
Dinos tu nombre y de dónde eres.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es María. Yo vivo allá en Aldea Timactés, San Matías de Tambo, municipio de... Salí de mi país porque peligro para mí, peligro para mi hijo, y violencias, drogas, violaciones, no hay comidas, secuestradores para mis niños. Mi esposo hace años me dejó, se abandonó, él casó con otra mujer y se abandonó con mis hijos, por eso yo no quiero abandonar mis hijos, yo quiero mantener mis hijos.
¿Cuántos niños tienes?
2,
I have 2 children,
un varón y una hembra.
1 boy and 1 girl.
How old are they?
¿Cuántos años tiene?
Es mi hijo, trae 11 años.
One is 11.
Mi niña dejó 9 años.
And my girl that is back in Guatemala is 9 years old.
So why is your daughter back in Guatemala?
¿Por qué dejaste a tu niña en Guatemala?
Porque no hay dinero, ya no alcanza mi dinero cuando salí. Por ahora se perdió unos 34,000 quetzales. Porque cuando me trae mis 2 hijos, muchos dineros. Sí, es difícil. Me quedo triste. Cuando me dejó mi niña allá en Guatemala, estoy triste. Yo quiero luchar por mis niños. Yo no quiero perder mi vida, mis hijos. Allá no hay luz, no hay agua potable, no hay nada. Yo me trabajé día a día. Yo me salí como a las 6 de la mañana. Me llegó hasta las 4 de la tarde. Apenas me gané unos 30 quetzales. No hay dinero, no hay comida. Estoy triste. Ya va 11 años, quedó con mis hijos. Ay, estoy luchando por eso. Yo quiero luchar por mi vida, mis hijos. Yo no quiero.
I wanna
mis
keep
hijos.
fighting for the sake of my children.
Yo estoy miedo por aquí. No hay nadie me ayuda, pero gracias.
No, para servirte.
Sí.
When nobody was helping us, nobody looked at us. We are very thankful God sent us because everybody ignores us.
This is your son?
¿Es tu hijo?
Sí, es mi hijo.
Yeah, Pascal, thank you for sharing with us.
Gracias por ayudarnos.
Gracias. Thank you for helping us.
Te agradezco.
Claro, con mi corazón.
Yo abrazaba a mi niño, rápido salgan allí porque ya varias gentes vamos a cruzar, digo. Y luego salí, bajó del cima de esos, iba corriendo con mi niño porque son peligros también, ahí llegan los más feos también.
Nosotros solo, ellos dicen pues para los coyotes, dicen que cuando nos traen, dicen que nos dan comida, nos dan un autobús para llevarse, pero no era así.
To God of all breath, we ask for love and care and kindness and goodness to these sweet mothers, sons that we've met today. Changed policy for the United States, safety in that plaza, and to put it in the words of Jesus, may your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, because this is not that. So we will say an amen, but it is a paused and broken amen, because this work is unfinished. Amen.
Hope you found that as powerful as I do. I still get emotional watching it. There's a whole lot more that we filmed with those mothers, with Angelina and Petrona and Maria and their sons, and with so many others. We met so many people who are in their situations, who were trapped on that far side of the border, trying to come to the United States. They did everything right. The United States had laws. If you're seeking asylum, come to the United States checkpoint, offer yourself as an asylee claimant, and the United States will respond. Until the Trump administration, the United States response was to allow people into the country so that they would find safety while it was being determined if they could stay in the country. We have the room and the capacity for that in the United States. There's no problem there. The Trump administration said, stay in a tent city, find a place to live. Just stay there yourself. Stay out of here while we figure it out. And then defunded the process of figuring it out. It's taken a long time for the Biden administration to have to refund what the Trump administration unfunded. They defunded the process of asylum in this country, the Trump administration did. Think about that for a minute. What kind of cruelty is there to say to people, if you come to the United States asking for asylum, well, you're going to end up living homeless in a place of danger. Those women, those three were all from Guatemala. They met one another traveling. They didn't come together. They met on this big train that they had to ride out of Guatemala where their lives were in jeopardy. They were put in a trailer and driven in the back of a trailer, and they had to be in there for 30 days, getting out at night and sleeping and being transferred from one mode of transportation to another. A terrible set of circumstances for these people. And why did they do it? Because they knew it was more dangerous where they lived. And maybe you heard Maria say, and it was true of the other moms as well, they had daughters that they had to leave in Guatemala. I mean, when she said that, my heart just broke. And maybe, like you, I had all kinds of questions running through my head. Why did she leave her daughter? How do you decide to take your son or your older daughter? So we asked, how do you make this horrible choice? Because it costs so much money to pay the people to transport you, what are often referred to as the coyotes or the smugglers or the transportation people to get you out of Guatemala across Mexico and to the U.S.-Mexico border in Reynosa. How do you get there? Well, it costs you a lot of money. As she said, it costs $4,420. She makes $3.90 a day. You can't afford that. So you know what they do? They take loans. And if they can't pay back the loans because they can't get in the United States, the cartels take their children. So why did she not bring her daughters? Because her daughters would be harmed. This is such a dangerous process for people to get to the United States. Never forget how dangerous it must be for them where they are. These are good people doing the right, brave thing. These are abandoned women caring for children. And the people of this country had to suffer under an administration that said to them, stay out. It is so good that we are done with the evil of that administration around migrants. There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of people who believe the wrong things about migrants. Look, we're putting a whole documentary together. Go to our YouTube channel. Please, I beg you, go there. Look at our documentary in the playlist. Start sharing it with your friends. You'll get short little pieces like this. You'll meet people. You'll see stories. You'll hear what's going on. And you'll recognize that we make our laws in the United States and we can change them. And if we have to change our lawmakers to do it, let's change our lawmakers to do it. We certainly had to do that in 2020, and we may have to do that in 2022, and we may have to do that again in 2024. But you cannot allow people to suffer needlessly because we choose to be scared and cruel. Here's the good news. Finally today, the Supreme Court did the right thing and gave the Biden administration the rights that it's always had. Shouldn't have had to wait this long. The obstructionists in the Trumpist Republican wing of the Republican Party tried to do everything they could to keep people like Maria and Patrona and Angelina and their boys out of this country. Well, the Supreme Court said, you can't do it that way anymore. That time is done. I know some people who watch this channel think that we're just way too hard on Donald Trump. They think, Doug, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. I don't think so. I think we're seeing very clearly what this person did as the president of the United States. And it was devastating. When you hear people say, well, you know, I didn't really like the way Trump acted, but I really did. I liked his policies. These are the policies. Is this what you like? You like the idea that those women and those children had to live in those plazas under threat and being chased by the cartel and their lives being put at risk? Those are the policies you like? Because if all you mean is tax policy because you saved a little tax dollar, think about what you bought with that. This gets me preachy. Look, I get it. People don't know the story. I didn't know the story of the border. I've gone there now multiple times trying to learn it and understand it. I just want you to know, as someone who's gone, I live in Minnesota. I live on the other border. The border that's close to my house is the Canadian border. And by the way, there's no wall on the Canadian-U.S. border. We don't need a wall. We need to change our policies, and we need to create a pathway for people to come to this country and leave this country and come to this country and leave this country the way we do on our northern border. The reason we don't do it on the southern border is not rooted in safety. It's rooted in bigotry. I know people feel like, I don't know the border, I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's going on. Let us be your surrogates for a while until you can get there yourself and meet people. And here's the other thing. No matter where you live in this country in the United States, someone living within walking distance of your house went through this process. There are asylum seekers from a range of countries. There are migrants from all over the world that have had to had to deal with the terrible situation of our migrant policies getting across this border. Go talk to them. Go meet them. Look, if there's a Spanish-speaking church near your house, show up on a Sunday and just say, hey, I'm just here to learn. Hang around for 6 months and to hear their stories. You don't have to go all the way to McAllen, but if you want to, you can. You don't have to go all the way to El Paso. But if you plan to, please be in touch with us. We'll help you do it. You don't have to go all the way to Reynosa. You don't have to go all the way to Sasa Bay. You don't have to go to Tijuana, even though, it's by San Diego, so a lot of people want to go there. But you don't have to go to those places. You can meet the very real people in your own neighborhoods. You can share videos like ours. You can go to our website and click on the We the People ride, because we're asking this fundamental question of who's included in the we of we the people in this country. That's fundamentally what we're asking people to consider. Who do we include? And if your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents weren't born on the land of the United States, you're in the same situation as these people. And if these migrants were given the opportunity that your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents had, you'd call them heroes. Instead, certain people in our country want to call them villains. There is a villain in this story, and it's not the migrants. Look, we learned 3 important lessons when we were there. The whole video on this, if you want to watch that one too. I'm pushing videos because you can click on that and send it to 5 friends, 50 friends, 500 friends. You can post it on your Facebook feed. I would ask you to please do it because people don't know. And don't blame people for not knowing until you've given them a chance to know. And I forgot what I was even ranting about there for a minute. We learned 3 things on the ride. One is, the U.S. border is not dangerous for people in the United States like we're being told. Over and over and over, hundreds of times we ask people along the border, what do you know by living here that you wish other people in the country knew? Time and time again, they all said the same thing. I wish people knew that it wasn't dangerous here. I wish people would stop slandering us. I wish people knew the truth about what's going on here. These are good places to live. The borderlands are beautiful. They're not dangerous. We've all been lied to. And this is coming from people. Look, you know who told me that? All manner of people. Trump supporters, apolitical people, activists like me, people working on both sides of the border. Everyone agrees. Republicans lie about the border. The second truth that we learned is the border is extremely dangerous if you're a migrant or an asylum seeker because of Trump-era policies. And we have to change them. Because we've limited immigration, because we had a horrible Remain in Mexico program until today, the border became extremely dangerous for people who needed to come into this country. They die by the hundreds in the desert every month. The horrible story we heard of 51 people dying in the back of that tractor trailer in Texas. That's what our policies of restriction have created. You're going to hear people say it's the Biden administration's fault for being too open that caused the death. Come on. They lie about their lies on this issue. Look, I'm not one to call all Republicans liars. Of course they're not. Not every Republican politician is a liar. When people start talking about the border and they start saying things about migrants and they start saying things about danger, they are telling you things that are not true. If they don't know that it's not true, then they're just telling you something that's wrong. If they know it's not true, which if they're an elected official or we're in the Trump administration, they know it, they are lying to you. And we don't want the liars to have the last word. That's not asking too much. So we learned the U.S. border is not dangerous unless you're a migrant. And the third thing we learned, The people that are solving the problem created by our terrible policies, the people who are bearing that burden, are nonprofits all along the border, often religious nonprofits, but nonprofits overall. The federal government created a crisis in the Trump administration and then told the citizens of the United States to pay for it. We have to get the government off the back of our nonprofits with these horrible policies, and today is a move in the right direction. I hope you're excited about this. I hope you're fired up about this. If you don't care about immigration most of the time, and look, I get it. I talk to people all the time about this. I see the look on their faces. We ran events in Ohio and in Pennsylvania and in Michigan and Wisconsin, telling this story, touring with our documentary, getting people excited about it. And so many people were like, hey, I care about all manner of things, and I certainly care about all manner of human beings, and I want the United States to be better, but it's just hard to care about everything. And I'm trying. We know it's hard to care about migrants because they're not here yet. Right? All the other policies about how do we help dreamers who brought to this country when they were young children and then their parents overstayed a visa, and now what do? Okay, there are people already in the United States and going to our schools, and we know them. Or we hear the stories of migrants who are trying to get their work visas extended, or we're hearing stories of people who are already living in the United States and they want to reunite with their families because they've now found home in the United States, which we've done as migrants for the entirety of the United States of America's history. At least they're here. You start talking about migrants, you start talking about asylum seekers on the other side of the border, it's really easy to not even know them, not even have access to them, not even know how many there are. You ask the Trump administration or even the Biden administration, how many people are staying in Mexico under the Remain in Mexico protocol? They don't know because they're not here. They're just piling up. The thing about caring about immigrants is that it's harder because they're not here yet. You have to go there and you just see these, acres upon acres of tents that people have put together to just exist until maybe they catch a break, and they've waited for years. And because the good people of this country had the good sense to get rid of that last administration and the Supreme Court finally did its work, that day has come. All right. I've been so anxious for this day and so anxious to talk about it. And I'm so glad that you've been willing to hang around and be part of this. Do what you can to share these videos. Do what you can to share these stories. You can go to Vote Common Good or WeThePeopleRide.org. See a bunch of our information about all this stuff. If that's the part you want to share, if you work with other migrant groups or other immigration groups or other asylum-seeking groups, please just speak up. There's at least one day when you can talk about it as a news story. I mean, yesterday's tragedy moves people, and today's success moves people. This is a day to talk about it. All right, I'm just going to check the chat here and see what people are saying. Thanks for all your conversations here on this, folks. So this person says that's good, but let's not ignore that the Trump Supreme Court he also ruled. Which are against the United States citizens. Yeah, I totally hear you. There's a lot of things that happened in the Trump administration that are in the Supreme Court this week that we all know are just a whole pile of no good, and they really do need to go away. I've lost some of the other chats here, so I was going to put your other comments up. Some of my little chat window went away, and I'm flying solo today, so I'm not going to put up any more comments. But thanks for being a part of this. We're going to just cheer on, not the Supreme Court, but the fact that this happened. We just want to... That applause is breaking out across the U.S.-Mexico border, where hundreds of thousands of people are finally going to have a chance to be treated with the respect and the humanity that they deserve. Thanks for being a part of the Vote Common Good podcast. If you're watching this on the Christian Left, we're an organization partners with the Christian Left on all manner of things. Come see us over at Vote Common Good. Head over to our YouTube channel, Vote Common Good on YouTube, and keep up with all the things we have going on. All right, friends, we'll be back in a day or so, and we have a holiday weekend coming up here on Sunday, the 4th of July. And then next Thursday, we're actually going to be running this 12-hour Common Good-a-thon live stream from noon Eastern time till midnight Eastern time with people on all day talking about the good they're working for in the world and how they want you to be a part of it. So it's going to be a great day. It's also a fundraiser for us. We have a person that's offered a match up to $50,000 for the work that we do, which is a lot of money. It's not enough, doesn't get all the work done, but it's a lot and it makes a big difference. So we're asking people to make a donation. You can go to our website and make the donation. Every dollar you donate between now and next Thursday gets matched. If it's $1,000 donation or more, which is a lot, that gets double matched because our funding matching donor really wants to motivate other people to care about this and wants to use this as an incentive. So please consider making a donation. It goes right directly to the work. Look, I know every organization says this, and I believe it to be true about so many, but it's certainly true about us. We don't waste any money. We get done so much work with the money you give, and we promise that we will. So stick with us. Contribute if you can. Share these stories, and we'll do everything we can to help people and to change these policies so that people aren't harmed by the United States policies any longer. All right. Hey, thanks for making good more common, friends. And we'll see you tomorrow or next week.